All right, guys, thanks for tuning in to another review of another Star Wars show. And just to give you a quick recap, so this is episode 4. So basically up to this point, Thrawn left a map inside a treasure planet ball to where he is and just left it to be found by anyone for some reason. And then Ahsoka finds it and then gets Sabine and Hera involved. And then 2 non-Jedis take the map and Ahsoka and Sabine go to get it because Hera put a tracker on the ship that was stealing parts for Morgan's ship, and she's going to use to get to Thrawn these stolen hyperdrives and stuff. And last episode, all that happened was Ahsoka and Sabine went to where Morgan was hiding, got attacked, and then flew down and hid in the trees. That's literally the entire episode. And Ahsoka is training Sabine to be a Jedi, and Ahsoka is trying to get to Ezra, who it is believed is with Thrawn. And obviously Sabine wants to get with Ezra's brother. So that's where we're starting off here. So far, the first 3 episodes, there's been a lot of nonsensical stuff, a lot of really stupid decisions by the characters, and just a lot of, the New Republic is full of dummies. They're very disorganized. They're setting up the sequels, right? With, why is your First Order? What's happening? So it lacks a lot of luster story-wise because there's not a lot of tension because the villains are kind of dumb and people don't die and Sabine can get stabbed with a lightsaber and live the next day, be walking around, and the New Republic's incompetent. And so you don't really get that clash of the Titans kind of thing. Like, you know what I mean? 2 very smart opposing sides having some sort of conflict. Even if it is off to the side, they still need to be super competent, and they're just not. And in this episode, again, the villains make some really weird decisions. It doesn't really make any sense. So, starts off with Sabine in the ship trying to contact Hera without success, while the droid is fixing some issues with the ship's transmitter. And then Ahsoka and Sabine decide to find their ground base. And I'm guessing they're talking about Morgan and Balin and Shin, the non-Jedis, their ground base, I guess, whatever that is. We don't actually see a base on the ground. We just basically see their ship and them standing around outside, but whatever. And then Sabine and Ahsoka go back into the ship after they have this conversation outside, and then the droid is outside fixing stuff on the side of the ship by himself, and then we see an assassin droid looking at him, and it's like, okay, he's getting attacked, thanks, we already know now what's going to happen, and it was probably pretty obvious anyway. Why would they leave him outside by himself in this supposedly extremely volatile situation? But whatever, they leave him out there, and then we get some actual dialogue from non-Jedi Shin, and she says that they know where the Jedi ship is, and she actually says a few things in this episode, not just like 2 words, so that was interesting. And then, so they know where the ship is, and yep, Ahsoka is a Jedi, but not. Still, because they just can't write a line for her to say to clarify all of this. Thank you, Dave Filoni. You're a great writer. So all because he made her say, I'm not a Jedi, and then he went, oops, we want her to be a Jedi now. She is a Jedi, but not a Jedi, and they just don't want to deal with it because they don't know how to deal with it. They don't know how to make her reconcile that to the audience, so they just leave it. 4 episodes, they just left it. Anyway, and like I said, Shin calls her a Jedi. Then Balin says they need to hurry, and Morgan says, is that fear in your voice? And Balin says, no, experience. And honestly, he's got the best lines in the show. He's by far the most interesting character, and he's not just a piece of cardboard like pretty much everybody else is in the show. Ahsoka does show a little bit of emotion in this episode, a little more, but everybody's just a piece of cardboard pretty much except for him. You can actually see acting chops, and he was directed properly. I'm not saying people like Rosario Dawson don't have acting chops. I think that Dave Filoni just doesn't know how to direct real life people. He's a cartoon guy. And then we get yet another conversation between Sabine and Ahsoka about Ahsoka being insecure, that Sabine will follow through. Okay, we get it. They have past issues. This is like the 4th conversation about this, and it's a foreshadow, of course. And it's a slow and drawn out conversation again for more runtime. This episode could have easily been a good solid 10 minutes shorter. There's just a lot of just wasting time. Ahsoka says the stakes are just so high, and I'm like, you're counting on Sabine and you know where Luke is. Like, you're trying to train Sabine to be a Jedi. You know she's not reliable. She makes emotional decisions because she's a 15-year-old in a 30-year-old woman's body. And instead of calling Luke, who you visited 2 years earlier in the timeline, and you know exactly where he is, you're rolling with Sabine, even though you yourself say that the stakes are just super duper high. Why would that be? Is it because George Lucas gets royalties when he uses Luke Skywalker's image? Or what's the reason for that? Because that is just, again, nonsensical, dumb. I mean, you're writing Ahsoka as kind of a dummy. Like, that's a dumb thing to do. You know Sabine's got problems and issues, and yet you don't call Luke, who's literally the most powerful Jedi in the galaxy and could just easily deal with the problems that you're having with these other people. Very, very easily. And then the droid gets attacked by assassin droids while being left alone outside, so Ahsoka and Sabine could have another repeat conversation. So they're basically having that heart-to-heart while he's outside getting beat up, and so he gets attacked. So predictable. Yawn. We all knew that was going to happen. And then the lights on the ship go out, and Ahsoka and Sabine go outside and fight the enemies, and they make quick work of them. But where's Shin? She was literally the one who set up the ambush, but she's just not there for some reason. Like, that's what we were expecting her to be there, but no. And then Sabine and Ahsoka take off running to, I guess, go find Baylan and Morgan. And I'm like, you just left the ship unguarded, and you know they know where it is. So you're Ahsoka. Again, he's writing Ahsoka like she's stupid. So she knows that they know where her ship is. And then she leaves the ship. She doesn't even leave Sabine there. She just leaves the droid there. What? And so then I'm like, okay, but I know the villains aren't going to blow up the ship. They're not going to do anything with it because they're stupid too. Everyone's stupid. And so they're just going to leave it alone. Just like when Ahsoka was out on the ship in the last episode in her spacesuit, and all they had to do was just blast the ship. It was powerless. It had no shields. It had nothing. All they had to do was just shoot it. And they kept shooting at her instead. Because they're dumb. Everyone is dumb in these shows. He writes everyone is a stupid person. All they have to do is steal or blow it up, and Ahsoka's screwed. And there's nowhere to go. And then Hera and her son Jason. I can't believe that's the name they went with. Whatever. Take off from the New Republic fleet. And this time in the ghost ship from Rebels, and she brings a small group of fighters with her, and one of them is Buddy from the Mandalorian, and anyway, they take off somewhere, I'm assuming where everyone else is, because she would know from the tracker from the earlier episodes, so she's very likely headed towards Morgan's. So the fact that Ahsoka couldn't send a transmission, which was the opening part, the opening scene, the whole thing the robot was trying to fix, didn't even matter, because she already knew where they were, and was leaving anyway. So that was great that we wasted 5 to 7 minutes of screen time, runtime, for a completely pointless endeavor. That was great. And then Morgan opens the map again while her giant Jedi fighter hyperspace ship is lowering so they can get the precise coordinates. And I have no idea why this wasn't already done other than so Ahsoka and Sabine can interrupt them and have a fight. Why would you be doing this now? You waited and waited and waited and waited and waited. Like, you could have put the coordinates in even before the hyperdrive was installed. You could have them ready to go. But you gotta wait, right? You gotta wait, so there's a plot they've thought of. And then, of course, instead of stealing Ahsoka's ship, killing her droid, and leaving her stranded, Shin and the other Inquisitor are just standing randomly in the gigantic forest, and Ahsoka just happens upon them. Like, this forest is basically the whole planet. There's basically just oceans and forests, and they're just standing in some random place, and Ahsoka happens to run into them. Like, why don't you go and steal her ship instead of just standing there? And then, you know, I'm thinking at this point, I'm going, yeah, Ahsoka, it would be nice to have Luke there with you, wouldn't it? Now that you got these two Siths, essentially. Like, wouldn't it be nice if you had Luke there? Now you got Sabine. but then they have to pay George royalties, I guess, and they can't have that. So Shin and Sabine start going at it, and Ahsoka and the Inquisitors start fighting. So basically the episode is a race against time. Ahsoka needs to get the map. Ahsoka needs to get to the map, Stonehenge Place, before Morgan can get the coordinates for the hyperspace jump done. And again, Baylan's just standing there. Why doesn't he go steal Ahsoka's ship? Like, he's just standing there. Who knows? The villains are dumb again. And then we get that terrible spinning lightsaber again. Oh, that's so cringy. I despise it. It's so terrible. And Sabine is holding her own pretty good after one lesson Ahsoka gave her against the chick who owned her no problem last time. And she killed her, but Sabine didn't die. Sabine's doing pretty good against her this time. Then Ahsoka slices Buddy, and I'm thinking, oh, he's going to live. Maybe they will announce that he has multiple stomachs when people question it, so that it sort of makes sense but still doesn't. And then he literally turns into a puff of green smoke and floats away. What? The whole thing was, oh, we're revealing what was his name? Marek or Marlock or whatever? We're going to reveal who he is. And it's like, he's just a puff of green smoke. What does that even mean? What is he? And now he's gone. Nobody, like, who cares? They made this big deal out of it. I had a feeling he was going to be a nobody. I tweeted that, and it looks like, yeah, he's a nobody. This is just so lame what people get excited about with these shows. Like, they're not going to give you what you want, people. Then Sabine tells Ahsoka to get the map, and she's going to handle Shin. And then it's back to Morgan, and no one knows why. It's taking so long to read the map and put in the coordinates. But yeah, it's because they need the Race Against Time story. It's taking forever. Like, just, it's a computer. It should be able to read the map very quickly. And then Morgan goes back to the ship for no reason. So Balin is left there so we can get the Ahsoka-Balin fight from the trailers. And Balin and Ahsoka have this little chat where we get told more of Balin's motives, kinda. He wants Thrawn back to start a war because you must destroy in order to create, is what he says. But we have no idea what he wants to replace the New Republic with, and no idea why he thinks Thrawn will let him get what he wants. It's just like, you're like, why? I'm still like, why is this guy doing this? We don't even know the, number 2 villain's motivations at all. Other than just releasing Thrawn on the galaxy to just blow up stuff. Like, what's the purpose? What's it going to do? And even with Morgan, like, what are you gaining out of this? Is he going to hand you the bag? Like, you're going to make some money? Like, what? It's a weird story so far. And I think part of that is because they just refuse to show Thrawn. Like, I tweeted this at the very beginning. He is going to be at the very end. He's barely going to be in this at all. If he was in it more, there would be maybe some more backstory for this, so we actually have a little more understanding. But like, I don't know what these villains are gaining by bringing back Thrawn. They're obviously able to do whatever they want. They can steal parts, they can build huge ships, they can run around stealing and doing stuff. Like, what's the motivation other than you want like a Palpatine empire again, but you're still doing good? Like, what benefit is that to you? But whatever. So another duel, and this is what, like the 5th lightsaber duel in 4 episodes. You go from like no lightsabers at all in Andor to just nothing but lightsaber duels. Balin and Ahsoka ignite their sabers and literally stare at each other for like a solid minute of runtime before finally starting to fight, and then they stop and stare at each other again a couple more times, but neither of them say anything. And I don't know if Dave doesn't know this, but like, this is literally where you communicate things during the fight. Like, people's motivations, what they're fighting for. Maybe they hate the other person, or they have reasons for what they're doing. It makes the fight kind of more interesting. I mean, literally any movie, this is what you do. You don't just have them staring at each other silently. This is so dumb. And then we see Morgan back on the ship doing literally the exact same thing she was doing on the ground, which is waiting for the coordinates to be finished so that she could prepare the ship. So when she said prepare the ship, she meant leave for no reason so they could have a duel. That's literally what that means. Like, she's doing the exact same thing. She's staring at the thing, waiting for the coordinates to finish uploading. She's not doing anything any different. She's not preparing the ship at all. She's just standing there. Probably would have been smarter to be down there, and helping Balin, but whatever. And then Ahsoka gets the upper hand, and she tries to take Treasure Planet map all, and again, the villains are morons, and Morgan's not down there, and that really helps the tension. It makes it really fun to watch. And then the ball burns Ahsoka's hand, and I guess Morgan did something to it to make it hot, or whatever, with her magic stuff. And then Shin puts a smokescreen thing and leaves Sabine alone. And then Shin shows up to Ahsoka and Balin tells her to get the map. And then Ahsoka flings her in the Force into the Stonehenge rock. And unlike Rey, she stays knocked out, despite Rey falling 30 feet to the ground after hitting a tree, and Shin basically falling like a couple feet after hitting the rock. And she's knocked out. And then Ahsoka sees Sabine come running and tells her to destroy the Treasure Planet orb while Balin is beating her, and ends up pushing her over the edge of the cliff into the water. And then Sabine starts shooting Balin, but he just blocks them easily, and she points her gun at the map like it's a hostage. She's holding the ball and points the gun at it, but she doesn't want to destroy it because Ezra and attachments are bad again in the Jedi world. They were bad in the PT, then they were good in the OT, right? Because it helped Luke save his dad. And then they were pretty good for Grogu, right? Because him and Mando and their father-son thing. And then now they're bad again now. Because Sabine won't do what she should do. And then Balin tells Sabine to join him so she can see Ezra. And Sabine gives him the ball, and this is exactly why this show is so stupid. Ahsoka keeps making a big deal about Sabine not being trustworthy, but still takes her at all, and doesn't call Luke. And she knows where he is. It doesn't make any sense. The stakes are so high that I'm going to bring this Sabine chick that's emotional and makes bad decisions instead of getting the most powerful Force user Jedi guy in the entire galaxy, and I know exactly where he is. Like, it doesn't make any sense that she didn't call Luke, and went with Sabine. She's trying to train Sabine, and Sabine doesn't use the Force. It's just dumb. And then Shin wakes up and starts choking Sabine. and Balin has her release her and says, oh, man of my word, I'm not going to kill her. And it's like, good thing Shin listens to her master. Hey, Sabine, like, you didn't do that, and she did. Way to go. In a completely predictable fashion, Hera and the fighters arrive. We all knew this was going to happen. And so Balin destroys the orb once the coordinates are downloaded to Morgan's ship using his lightsaber, and we get to see what should have happened to Sabine's innards when she was stabbed, but alas, that didn't happen. And then Morgan ignites the giant hyperdrive after Sabine and Balin and Shin arrive, and she blows past Hera and her fighters, sending them spinning all over, and 2 of them crash. Then Ahsoka just wakes up in something that could be a live-action World Between Worlds. So she falls down the cliff into the water, and they left it open. Is she dead? The show's named after her. Anyway, but it looks like a live-action World Between Worlds, but not totally sure. And then Anakin is standing there. I will say they did a better job of his de-aging this time, not like Kenobi when he looked like 20 years older than he was supposed to be. He looked so bad. Instead of the old young man in Kenobi, he actually does look kind of good in this. So they did one thing right. Again, this is not a good show. There's a lot of really senseless, dumb stuff. And I'm assuming now we're going to get into the rumored visions of her fighting Anakin on Mustafar and all that stuff now. And it's just, well, actually, we are actually, because they actually announced in episode 5 that's when that happened. So there you go. It's just people are super nonsensical in this show. It's very predictable. It's very, very predictable. There's just so much foreshadowing, and it's way too drawn out, way too slow. The scenes drag on, and this one was better for that, and it still had some dragging. The heroes, Ahsoka makes dumb decisions that don't make sense, making her look incompetent and dumb. Morgan makes dumb decisions that don't make sense, making her look incompetent and dumb. And it's like, do I really want to watch incompetent and dumb versus incompetent and dumb? That's pretty much where we're at. This wasn't the worst of the 4 so far, but it wasn't very good either. It sucked. And if they have any more lightsaber duels, it's getting old now. And the lightsaber duels aren't even very good. They're not choreographed very well. They were okay at times, but some of the moves that even Balin does, you're like, what? He like spins and turns his back, and then stuff that you would never do in a sword fight. Anyways, and then Sabine with her stupid backwards holding of the lightsabers, which again, in a real sword fight, you'd get murdered carrying around your sword like an idiot like that. And what's his name? Bode does that too in the Jedi Survivor. He looks like an idiot. It's not a proper fighting style. If you like this, thanks for watching. If you like this content, please like and subscribe. Check out any other Star Wars content, sequels reimagined. I also have some videos about some other things in the entertainment and Hollywood world. And thanks for watching, guys. Like I said, please like and subscribe if you like the content, and have a good day.